Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Divine Disaster. This is Battlefield 1. In today's weapon review, we're going to be taking a closer look at the Autoloading 8.25 extended DMR, of course, exclusive to the medic class in Battlefield 1. We're going to be looking at its base stats, its properties, but of course, most interestingly, as per usual, the best associated playstyle and whether or not you should be using it on the battlefield. As per usual, we're going to be starting off with the stats of the Autoloading 8.25 extended, starting with the damage model with a maximum damage of 38 and a minimum damage of 21, and a very quick damage drop-off. We have a very close quarter orientated damage model that will guarantee you a 3-shot body shot kill all the way out to 17 meters, from which onwards you will need 4 or even 5 bullets to kill your enemies. Coming with this relatively close quarter orientated damage model is a very high fire rate for the DMRs. That is to say, the fastest firing DMR that we currently have in Battlefield 1 at 359 rounds per minute. This comes with a muzzle velocity, because this is a DMR we need to cover it, at 660 meters per second, which is actually pretty good. It's obviously not competitive to some of the more longer range DMRs, but muzzle velocity isn't actually even that important for close quarter combat. Nevertheless, it's nice to have a fast muzzle velocity because it means no leading on close quarter targets whatsoever. The gun will feel snappy and responsive. Moving on then to the magazine size, at 15 plus 1 or 16 bullets in total, we have a relatively good magazine size here, enough to chew through a number of enemies. Furthermore, as we will discuss later with the reload times, this is a magazine fed gun. That is to say, no single bullet reloads here, but simply reloading the entire mag at once. Moving on then to those reload times, we have very competitive close quarter orientated reloads here. That is to say, a short reload with 1 or more bullets left in your gun or chamber at 2.1 seconds, and a long reload, still competitive, at 2.6 seconds, meaning that you won't usually get caught out mid reload with this gun trying to fight off the enemy. Moving on then to recoil, with vertical recoil of 0.51 and the recoil to the left at 0.3 and to the right of 0.3, this gun will have a kick if you try to use it at long range as its maximum fire rate, but in close quarters, frankly, this recoil is absolutely manageable and you will easily and comfortably be able to take out enemies also at medium range as long as your aim is true. The recoil doesn't really get into the way of the performance of this gun, as it doesn't on most of the DMRs out there. Just to mention this on the side, as per usual with DMRs here, we have a first shot recoil multiplier of 1. In other words, there is no such thing as a first shot kick. Moving on then to the accuracy of the 8.25 extended, we have here a DMR accuracy that is an ADS while not moving of 0.21. When moving, you're going to be having an ADS of 0.79 and a relatively, for DMRs, good hip fire value here. That's hip firing while standing and moving at 2.5. What this basically means, and as we will get into in just a moment when it comes to playstyle and usage of this gun, you can hip fire this weapon relatively reliably in extreme close quarters, saving you time and also allowing you to have a better oversight over the battlefield because you don't have to aim down sight. With the base stats of the weapon then being covered, let's get to what I deem to be usually the more interesting part of weapon reviews, where we talk about play styles, ideal usage, and tactics regarding the weapon, as well as its place on the battlefield in relation to the other weapons in both its class and competing classes. Now, it's no secret that the Autoloading 8.25 extended is close quarter focused. It's probably the most close quarter focused DMR in the game. There's 1 or 2 others which are similarly orientated. However, it's one of a few that is truly good at close quarter combat. It's got a good time to kill, and with 3 shots only needed at 359 rounds per minute, you can be sure you're going to be surprising a number of assault players when whipping this out and hip firing them down. Now, obviously, it won't be able to compete with an Automatico or a shotgun, but it can maybe even start to compete with something like an MP18 Trench when it comes to damage output, or a Hellriegel. You're going to surprise people when you whip this out and deal damage to them. And the interesting part about this weapon is it allows the assault medic player from Battlefield 4, who is used to having close quarter capable weapons, getting in people's faces and healing and reviving his teammates, which is of course most effective where they're dead, usually on the front line, with a weapon that fits this playstyle. The Autoloading extended allows for this playstyle once more, which is one of the major changes that we had coming from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1. The medic class was moved back from the front lines to a more supportive role, making the healing aspect maybe possible, but the reviving aspect a little bit more difficult. This is not the case with this weapon. However, it comes of course at great expense. You're not very effective at medium to long range. At medium range, you can still dish out decent damage. However, you will be beaten out by most of the other LMGs and DMRs on the battlefield, and of course sniper rifles, but you will still be capable. However, at long range, you shouldn't really waste your bullets on targets. With 5 bullets and an accuracy that's not going to necessarily benefit you, combined with the recoil that you have to deal with, well, let's put it just this way, the iron sights are also not necessarily ideal for shooting long range targets. With all that being said, how do you use this weapon most effectively? Obviously in close quarter. Best suited with assault players. That means you go with a squad of assault players to take on the tank, take on the objective, get on point. Because not only will you be able to heal a number of your teammates and provide the most effective medic support that you probably can, but your weapon is also best geared for close quarter. And I highly enjoy this playstyle. Once more with the medic class, being able to get into close quarter combat and be effective with it. It's one of the big things I missed coming from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1 and picking up some of those DMRs, which were mostly long-range focused. It's why I initially stayed away from the medic class, but have now slowly but surely begun to once more make it my favorite class on the battlefield. With that being said, the autoloading has a number of stats, as we've noticed, that benefit in close quarter. It is still capable at medium range, but at longer range is likely not your ideal solution. You should however be aware that while its hipfire is good for close quarters, it's not as good as some of the better SMGs out there, so don't overuse the hipfire. Aim down sight, you'll have a more accurate shot. When possible, only use hipfire for very close quarter situations. Now, the weapon stats speak for themselves, and my experiences are similar to those of the weapon stat. That is to say, in close quarter and medium range, this weapon rocks. Anywhere else, that is to say at longer ranges, you may want to try and avoid this weapon. So obviously use it for TDM game modes or any kind of close quarter conquest or operations. Basically, get on the objective. That's where this weapon feels at home, because that's where the close quarter cover combat will be, and that's where you can get off a number of cheeky revives and heals on your teammates, and you'll be most effective as medic. With that being said, I thoroughly enjoy the 8.25 extended. I have actually played it for a while, kind of passively in the background, slowly collecting the footage needed for this video. It's a nice switch up from the usual DMR long range game that we have otherwise in Battlefield 1 with some of the better DMRs out there, such as the Mondragon Sniper and of course the Zebslada M1916, which I've already covered. But let me know down below in the comments what you think of the Autoloading 8.25 extended. Are you a frequent user of it, or have you maybe not even tried it out yet? Feel free to also leave experiences or video suggestions for future videos, both for Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4 of course. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you very much for watching and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 1 video.